Hello and welcome to Makers Monday. Right, not a huge amount of sewing, knitting, crafting time this week. Knitting wise, I'm still working on Dad's socks. I have now finally reached almost the end of the toes on the second sock, so I now have to then work out how to do an afterthought heel. So I'm not going to bother showing you those again because, you know, you're seeing them week in, week out, and they're still like an inch further along and another inch further along. So that's pretty much all the knitting I've had time for. That's the problem with the wonders of a teething baby. So yes, and 300 other things to do. Excuse me yawning. Leads me on to acquisitions. Can't for the life of me remember whether I spoke about these things last week, but I have two sock yarns. It is Heart and Soul by Cedar, wool-rich 4-ply sock yarn. 100 grams, 75% wool, 25% nylon. One is, they did have names for the shades on the website. I think one was Jungle, probably this greeny one. God alone knows what the other one was. But yeah, Heart and Soul. This was on Black Sheep Wools. They had a massive great sale on just after Christmas. I probably have told you about these, so apologies if I have told you about these already, but about the only acquisition I think I've got this week. So on to sewing. Last week you saw that I finished 2 pairs of harem trousers and a pair of salopette dungarees for my next door neighbour's little girl. And this week I have been doing something slightly different. I've used some of this robot fabric. Now this fabric is from Lovely Jubbly Fabrics. Mum bought it for me, and it's cotton, and I've used some heavyweight interfacing to make a storage, well, sort of like a storage box almost. So I think what I need to do is make the sides higher, make it more square. This is a first time one, or I need to sort of sew down the sides to sort of pleat them and make them stand up firmly. But this is Proto Box, all lined out, squared off bottom. What I plan to do is make all joined in, make storage totes for the boys for their jumpers in their rooms. What I've got at the moment is I've got one of the tins, and I'd like to use the tin for something else. One of these sort of round metal tins with them. Brain's gone completely today. One of the metal round tin buckets with handles basically, and I use them for the wedding. But I used one for Williams, and I'm using one at Forest School for or my outdoor learning provision for like a baby sensory basket, keeping all their bits and pieces in. And I'd like the boys to have totes, so I've got loads more of this robot fabric, more lining fabric to go for the middle if needs be, and I've got this spaceship fabric which Mum also bought me, and I think if I open it up I've got about 1 metre of each of them. Yeah, metre of each, so I should be able to make a pretty big tote box. So yeah, Proto tote box is this one. So I shall sew a bit round. I think I might sew up the sides just to square it off a bit, and maybe sew across the bottom edge as well to square it off, just so it stands, maybe just the bottom edge actually. So if I sewed along these bottom ends, sort of cinched this bottom edge and sewed it, get it exactly on the corners and sewed it, it would probably do it. Just hold it upright more, because the infusible interfacing inside here is the heavyweight stuff, so it is really quite thick crinkly stuff here. Yeah, so for my first attempt, no pattern, storage box, I'm quite pleased. So that is the sewing. That is the sum total of my sewing this week. Been busy doing all sorts of other things this week. Okay, so the other thing I've been doing, I got outside the other day with Mum and I have pollarded all of the willows that I planted a couple of years ago. Basically, I planted a load of basketry willow and osier willow not long after we moved down here. Didn't put any membrane around them, so some grew, some didn't. A couple of them got run over by the tractor at least twice, but they are still coming back. 2 of them have actually come back, which I could not believe. I'll insert some pictures here. Of the willow that we've harvested from them. So we've got some pea sticks, so I'll make some sort of obelisk-y type things if I can out of those. Some which Mum reckoned was filling, so fillers for baskets. Some which Mum reckoned were weavers, and then just a bit of leftover stuff, and planters, stuff that Mum reckoned that we could use for planting, and then a bit of sort of leftover stuff that wasn't too great, too split, too branched, because obviously with the dry summer we had last year, it stunted quite a lot of the growth, I think. So I had a go then at making some willow bird feeders, and they're like little triangular houses, and you put the fat ball up inside them, and they just sort of sit over the fat ball. So I shall insert some photos of my very first 2 attempts here. It's interesting, and some of my willow was really quite, I think I used a bit of the osier willow, which maybe isn't as bendy as the basketry willow. So yeah, first attempt ever, really, other than the willow wreaths, doing anything with willow. So as I'm getting a hell of a lot more, hopefully this Friday, I should really start learning how to do things with it, I think. So yeah, maybe you might find a bit more willow on Makers Mondays. Anyway, so yeah, short one this week, and just the storage tote, the yarn. Hopefully I haven't told you all about that before, and yeah, still plodding along with Dad's socks with the knitting. Hopefully I will get those done in the next couple of days, but teething baby, we shall see. Thanks all, see you soon.